You are listening to Radio Maria Canada. We now present the Health Hub, hosted by Kathy Biasi.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Health Hub. I'm Kathy Biasi, your host, and along with our producer, Alex Diaz, we would like to welcome you to our show this morning. Today's show is being taped, so no opportunity for calling in, but we invite you to follow us on our social sites. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and we are at the Health Hub RMC on all three platforms. And if you'd like to contact us directly, please do email us at thh@radiomaria.ca. And please do subscribe to our podcast. We are the Health Hub on iTunes, SoundCloud, and all of your favorite podcast platforms. You can also find our podcast on the Radio Maria Canada website, which is radiomaria.ca, and on my website, which is kathybiasi.com. Over the last few months, we have talked on the Health Hub about the science of COVID-19 with guests like Dr. William Lee, and we have also delved into coping with the stress of it. But now is the time to talk about how we come through the other side of this. And to help us with this, we have returning to the Health Hub our wonderful friend, Dr. Anna Yusim, and a new friend to our show, Marla Maples. Dr. Yusim is a world-renowned, board-certified psychiatrist with a private practice in New York City and the best-selling author of Fulfilled, How the Science of Spirituality Can Help You Live a Happier, More Meaningful Life. She is on the clinical faculty at Yale Medical School, where she is creating a mental health and spirituality program. Dr. Yusim completed her undergraduate education at Stanford University, where she studied biology and philosophy. She attended Yale Medical School and the NYU Residency training program in psychiatry. She has traveled, lived, and worked in over 60 countries and presented at numerous national and international medical conferences. Dr. Yusim has published over 70 academic articles, book chapters, scientific abstracts, and book reviews on various topics in psychiatry. With more than 15 film roles, Broadway shows, and dozens of magazine covers on her resume, Marla Maples firmly secured her place in popular culture. With a focus on creating a quieter, more spiritual existence, Marla relocated to Southern California in 1999 with her daughter Tiffany Trump. She released her first album, The Endless, featuring Deepak Chopra, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and Michael Bernard Beckwith, and hosted a radio talk show, Awakening with Marla, with specialists from the natural wellness world. Marla returned to the spotlight, tangoing her way through season 22 of Dancing with the Stars, co-hosting The View, The Doctors, and Good Day New York, and performed on Ballando con le Stelle in Rome, Italy. Most recently, Marla also has a recurring role on the new hit HBO series, The Righteous Gemstones. The humanitarian who herself suffered from Lyme disease was honored for her work with the Global Lyme Alliance and remains committed to supporting a multitude of nonprofit organizations, including AwareNYC.org, Spirituality for Kids, and the Louis Armstrong Center for Music and Medicine. Marla has had the privilege of speaking at the United Nations, Harvard University, the 2018 Summit of Peace, as well as the Global Summit on Science, Spirituality, and Environment in India. She also performed her single, One World of Love, on the stage at Carnegie Hall. I truly hope you enjoy our conversation with Anna and Marla. Everybody, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us. It's my very dear pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy.
Looking forward to your time with you.
Yes, it's we've had this talk off air, and it's so wonderful to talk about how we're dealing with things, and it's time now to talk to people about coming through the other side of this. None of us have been alive during something like this most of us, I shouldn't say none, most of us have not experienced anything like this. And over the past few months, we've had a fear inbred into us. And now we need to figure out what we're going to do with this, how we're coming through the other side. And I know you two have been working together, trying to promote how to come through this. And I just want your experience. I want people you've talked to. I want to hear everything that you can recommend to us, because it's going to be challenging.
Right. Anna, would you want to go first, or you want me to?
Sure. Well, go for it, and then I will follow up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, Anna and I, of course, have been friends for many years, and we've traveled to China actually, and been a part of the first ever women's panel at the Sanya Forum. And we just immediately, when we first met, there was a knowing. So we feel like together we're even stronger, and we've just really enjoyed sharing this. And we, what we're finding is Anna is a professional. I just pretend to be. I'm a lover of humanity and a lover of souls, as I know you both are. And where I feel called is where I go. So there have been many people that have come and reached out to all of us I know that have been struggling with this time, this alone time. For me, it's been a gift, in that it's given me the time to go deep within myself and really search what God's purpose is within me, like the true purpose. I've always asked, but then I get pulled away and distracted. There's so many distractions in the world. This time I've been able to basically go on my hands and knees and just be a more clear channel. So that is what I've been really helping other people to do, is to go within themselves and acknowledge that they're here for a purpose and for a reason. And if they can just tap in their silence to what their uniqueness is and how they can share, I feel that purposefulness that they can find helps them break through the doubt, the fear, the worry. So that's just been a tool that I find has been helpful. It's like knowing, how can I help? If you're really more focused on how I can help versus who can help me,
yes,
I think it can turn things around, especially emotionally. And then you're part of a bigger whole.
And I agree. Some people would fear having that time to look inward. I mean, I don't know, Anna, what you think of that, but I know that sometimes there's that silver lining where we have time, where we're busy and we can, as you're doing, Marla, look in. But then there must be other people that is a little bit of a scary place to go.
You want to talk on that?
Yeah, I think Marla is absolutely right that finding your own sense of purpose and meaning is one of the ways to move through this really difficult period and move past the fear, the uncertainty, the doubt, the anxiety that all of these events inspire and create for us. And I think you're absolutely right, Kathy, that looking inward can at times be the scariest thing that we ever do, because what do we do in our daily life? Or what do some of us do in our daily life? We try to run away from parts of ourselves through all these different ways, whether we numb ourselves through constant interaction, through workaholism, or through substances like drugs or food, or through certain behaviors like addictions and other things, right? There's so many ways to escape yourself so that you don't have to look inwards. And here we're in quarantine. We have to go inside. And so when we're inside, we're really brought up against ourselves more than anything else. And we're shown those parts of ourselves that we need to heal, that we need to transform, and that really are at the root the greatest source of our own light. By transforming those things that are so difficult to see within ourselves, we actually reach much more light and are able to share more light with humanity, are able to live more according to our purpose and our meaning, and do the work that we've come into this world to do.
Are there steps that you both recommend to doing this? Because you're right. I mean, when we can tend to focus all of our being on what we do, right? Our work, and it's a part of us. Our family is a part of us. And for those of us who have been lucky to be at home with our families, this is, for me, it's been a bonding time. But for people who are so, the work is their life, they're having to find a new purpose, I would think, or to reevaluate things. And is this problematic, or is this nourishing for the soul?
Yeah, who we really are beyond the labels that we put on ourselves, or that the world puts on us. I lived under a label for many, many years, and I know maybe to some people I still have a label because of my ex-husband, who I met when I was 20 years old, and is now the president. So it's taken a long time for me personally just to be free enough to know that it's okay for me to express the truth of who I am, not to hide anymore from it. And my little sister is in an emergency room. She's an ER doctor, actually. She works in trauma. And, I watch, she remains true to her soul in everything she does, which is beautiful. Like, she'll go to work and she's faced with all these, high-risk situations, but she doesn't have fear about it. She feels she's in sync with her calling, because who she is in that emergency room setting is also who she is outside of it, as far as caring and compassion. So, the most beautiful thing I feel is if people could learn to align, and this is a chance to kind of jumpstart into something new, align their soul purpose with the way they're seen in the world, with the way they show up in the world. And so there's not that separation between this is who I am when I go to my job, doing, fixing electrical poles, I can walk into that job and still be the same person that I'm learning who I am now. I'll just bring that energy to my job. And it's not even just labels. Like you said, you've been imposed with labels, but we label ourselves, right? Yes. This is what I am, and this is what I do. And maybe those labels, when you have 4 months to sit and think about it, maybe those labels really aren't equating with who you actually are. And that can be traumatizing. Yes. I agree, honey. You see, Anna, you're to share on that one.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, what you're talking about is this concept of authenticity. Like, who am I separate of what everybody else expects of me, of what society may expect of me, of what my past may expect of me? And how can I move within my authenticity in a dynamic way that enables me to really change with the times and grow and expand, and not have to be for anybody else anything other than what really my connection with something greater than myself, what the light calls me to be at this moment. And it's a dynamic process. And if you are connected, so Marla and I are both very spiritual people, we're connected to something greater, we are guided by the light, or we certainly try to be all the time. And that forces you to change. That forces you to have to, do about faces. If it doesn't intuitively feel right, it forces you to say no, even when you've made a commitment. So those are just a few of the things that I believe are authenticity. And what going inside, what this time period is forcing us all to do, is to get more in touch with that. And another way to say it is really to align more deeply with our own souls, and to act from our soul and not act from the expectations of others or obligations, that we have that really have outgrown their time, or from parts of ourselves from the past that no longer serve us.
And we've talked about it before, Anna, dealing with our soul. So spirituality, some people, when they hear that word, spirituality, that can be something that's a turnoff, right? So, but we're talking spirituality, not necessarily always with a particular God, but spirituality can be found within, right? So we all have that capability and capacity for spirituality.
Right. To me, spirituality is just wanting to know more, wanting to connect with our true purpose. It's about being open. And we've all studied, I think all three of us have probably studied a lot about different religious backgrounds and different ways. It's always been a passion of mine to try and understand how other people find God, what that means, what is their divine connection. I love learning and listening to how other people make the connection. But for me, it's just that ongoing search for truth.
Well, what's that commonality that you found? Because you're looking at the different religions, you're looking at the different ways that people are looking beyond, but there has to be a common thread through all of them.
There is, and that's that heartstring that's between all of us when we open ourselves to really love. And the peak of, at the top of all these religions is this desire to, really love thy neighbor as thyself, which is one of the hardest things we can ever learn to do, truly. And that means releasing a lot of ego, releasing a lot of me from the equation, to really care about another human being. So that is the ongoing, that is what I've learned through, my Christian studies and my Kabbalistic studies and other studies is to really learn how to open that space in your heart where you can have that empathy for another person and want the best for them. So a lot of these practices we do helps us learn to attain that, right, Anna? I mean, we all are human. We come back to our egos and we have our struggles. That's part of it. But having a path to find our way back, and truly, in these days, having a community may not be holding hands with and singing together in one room, but having this community of people that we know we can pick up the phone and share with during this time and check in with and know that our hearts are connected to really having an impact to help people and ourselves through this time.
Well, Anna, you would know too, we talked about ego, we talk about all these things, right? These are common things that we like to discuss. But honestly, our egos are taking a hit now. They have to be taking a hit because to see what's going on, and this is a short period of time, right? The impact that this has had on us, it's a hit to the ego because we realize how really insignificant, I think, this is what I've felt. We are so insignificant to the whole process. So if we're so into cultivating that, and there are two types of egos, a nourishing one and a non-nourishing one. Anna, you may be really against this, I don't know, but that really selfish ego, that's taking a pounding right now. Maybe that's the area that people are struggling with because that insignificance that has come about from all this. I don't know if in practice or Marla, when you're talking to people, if you find this, but I find that people are taking a hit with that and not knowing what to do with it.
Yeah. Do you want to say it from a psychiatrist?
Anna, Anna, are you dealing with people? You're still seeing patients, I'm assuming?
Yes. I feel like the practice is busier than ever by virtue of anxiety, depression, insomnia that is coming up right now. And people from, a year or 2 or 3 years who I haven't heard from are calling, needing appointments, needing emergency sessions because it's so overwhelming. So absolutely, everybody's egos are taking a beating. And I would agree with what Marla said, that it's really, that which unifies all different spiritual traditions is trying to make that shift from an ego consciousness to a soul consciousness. And the ego consciousness is focused on me, and what do I need? And Kathy, what you said about the survival instinct and our need to just, preserve ourselves at all costs, and even at the cost of what happens to others. And the shift that we're being invited and inspired to make right now is to not focus so much on ourselves, which could be the hardest thing to do because so many of our own structures, meaning our own identity, our own professions, our own sense of safety, are being deconstructed right now and are kind of crumbling down before us. But we're asked to step outside of that. And, how do we align with a soul consciousness? How do we transform the ego consciousness to a soul consciousness that's not based on the manifestations of ego, the manifestations being, greed and selfishness and control and anger and hatred and resentment and vengeance and, those sorts of things. How do we shift to a soul consciousness, which is about more love and compassion and gratitude and forgiveness and caring for others and being able to create that transformation in that very powerful and important direction, which could be very hard to do, especially under this stress.
It can be. A lot of people have lost their jobs and a lot of people are struggling to make ends meet. And that's a real blocking for people to try. They've got that pressure and then this pressure of isolation, and that's a double whammy. So how are you encouraging people to look beyond this? There's no choice in this matter. People are losing their jobs and people are forced to quarantine. So how are you telling them to look beyond this to try and find that silver lining? It can be so hard to see.
Well, now we're forced to grow, aren't we? I mean, this is not a time where we can choose. This is a time where we either, fall apart, or we say, okay, I'm forced to transform. I'm forced to grow now. This is something that maybe I don't have the skills for, but I'm here. I'm here now. So I've got to face this. I just talk to people a lot about the meditation, of course, because that's just quieting the mind and going to a deep place of listening and being still and getting the heart rate normalized. I mean, the breath is the breath. The breath gives life. Mm-hmm. When we leave this earth, we blow it out our last breath. When we come in, we take our first breath. So in between, it's time to breathe in and breathe out and continue that rhythm to nourish our organs. I mean, if we're not nourishing our organs, our brain is just affected by it. Everything is affected by it. Our health is affected by it. So meditation is so much more than just, it is more than quieting the mind. It's getting that deep breath inside every single organ in your body so everything can serve you as you're facing this. So that immediately helps with the stress. Exercise is different now. I'm exercising less than ever, which is not really comfortable for me. But sometimes I tell people just to stand up and shake it out, because our body is like portals of energy, and every part of us is alive, but also some of this negativity and fear attaches to us. So 100%. I just say it's not about going to the gym and lifting a weight. It's about shaking it off of you. Tapping. Anna and I do this practice of tapping at times, starting at the top of your head, working all the way down your body to your toes, and then back up again. You're stimulating the lymphatic system, but you're making your whole, all of their sensory perceptions more alive. And then literally, my daughter's studying for law school for all these years, working so hard with a computer there in her lap. And I'm like, baby, get up and just jump up and down. Mm-hmm. Just jump up and down, release it like a child. That's what kids do. Remember they'd have temper tantrums and they're like, shake it out. And just, but that releases so much. So that's a simple kind of fun Marlaism that I do.
No, movement is huge, and you're right. And now you talked about exercising and slowing down on the exercising. For me, it's letting go of the have-tos has been breathtaking for me. The things that I attached to my life that were important, that I needed to do, I need to do that, I need to get. Having this loose schedule for me personally has been wonderful. I don't know, Anna, are you feeling the same way? Do you like this freedom? Are you finding new areas of focus? I think we talked about how New York has changed for you.
Yes, definitely. So we're not in New York right now. My husband and I are now in rural Connecticut. We both actually got COVID. Then we got over COVID. And then we're like, okay, this is our sign. For us, this means we're probably going to have our little place in Connecticut, but we also are going to make our main residence, which used to be in New York City, in Connecticut. And we've been thinking about this for a while already. And I'm on faculty at Yale, and it kind of made sense from a number of reasons, but this was really the thing that catapulted us. And as far as my schedule, I feel like in a way, yes, it's much looser than it used to be. And yet, because I'm still seeing patients, it's still a pretty, boom, boom, boom schedule. But a number of those sessions are now phone sessions. So I speak to my patients while walking through the forest here in Connecticut. And that's an amazing, amazing change. That for me has been just wonderful. But it's also been hard because we're used to a certain structure, and that structure, even though self-created, completely self-created and artificial, it's what enables our life to have predictability, what enables us to feel in control. And then that structure is a little shaken up. And so you're like, trying to adjust to this new normal. So it's really an adjustment process on so many levels, physically, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically. And then you're like, okay, where to from here? This is what we're being called to do. So we have to step up.
Structure is very important. I do agree. But changing the structure up has been great. I'm actually I have my two girls are at home now. My one son's married and the other one's living up north at our place. I'm really impressed of how they have manipulated their lives and how they've created structure. My older daughter works with autistic children. So she works in the morning on the phone, and then she created a space for mental health, and she's created a space for her exercise. I think they've adapted very well. Maybe it's the older ones. Maybe it's our generation that is having more of an impact. Mind you, they don't have the financial stresses, but I'm very proud of the way them and people in general have taken on this challenge and restructured. And I think that might be a big piece of how people will come out of this. What do you think about that?
I think that's fantastic. I think it's really great to be able to observe it through the eyes of your children and the different generations. And my daughter and I kind of have a bit of a laugh about it. Everyone's talking about, isolation. She's like, Mom, this is my life anyway. She's been working so hard. She goes, this is just my life.
With no restaurants and no, that sort of thing.
Just, other than some of the places she would order in from as she's studying all night long are closed. I send her some nutrition for nutrition for longevity every now and then. I'm like, eat this good food, sweetheart. Eat this healthy food that's going to be there for you. But I think that's an absolute great point. I watch some of the people on the social media, and I see them coming together with the kids and doing new activities. And it's so exciting to me. It's
emotional, actually. I find it very emotional, some of the things that people have done. The creative ways.
I just want to borrow a child every now and then to have that kind of fun.
Yeah, exactly. What it would be like to be at home with your kids all the time now, if you're out to work and now you're forced to be with them. I am sure the initial is a knee jerk, but then you kind of get into this pattern and your kids are where they should be at home. I think it's brilliant. I think what we should do here now is take a quick break. And what I want to do when we get back, ladies, is talk about the fear that has been cultivated in us over the past few weeks and how maybe we can move beyond that. So we'll be back, everybody, in a few minutes.
Again. Can't shake them, can't make them ever fade, ever end. Am I good enough? Do I measure up? Feels like a war I can't win. But I wasn't given the spirit of fear, I was given the power of love. Everything I've been fighting against, I'm gonna lift it up. I wanna be fearless, no holding back, no backing down. Because I believe you're with me now. Bring on the unknown. Lead me and I'll go. Come set me free. God, I wanna be fearless. I want to be fearless. I want to be. These mountains, these giants will fall at a single word. In your name, in your strength, I'm more than a conqueror. The spirit of fear, I was given the power of love. The power of love. Everything I've been fighting against, I'm gonna lift it up. I wanna be fearless, no holding back, no backing down. Fearless, because I believe you're with me now. Bring on the unknown, lead me and I'll go. Come set me free. God, I wanna be fearless.
You are listening to The Health Hub here on Radio Maria Canada, a Catholic voice wherever you are. To contact us and be a part of the show, email thh@radiomaria.ca. We now continue with the program. Here once again is your host, Kathy Biasi.
Welcome back, everybody. We're having a wonderful conversation here with Dr. Anna Yusim and the lovely Marla Maples, a new friend to our show. So I really want to get into, I delayed the whole first half because I want to focus on this because it's something that I feel, that I see, that I sense. We've been embedded with a fear over the last 3 weeks. And to me, it's profound how short a period of time this has been for such a humongous impact. But we've been inbred with fear. We don't know what's true in some situation. How, and you know, this whole world word and phraseology of the new normal, I think that in and of itself is scary. So how do we come through this and get over our fears? You know, when I run, people go to the other side of the street when they see me. We have a fear of everybody now as maybe a carrier of a disease that can kill us, and we have to get beyond this. How do we start to do that? Anna, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think fear is really, like you said, so all-pervasive right now. And it's fear of so many things because we as human beings, you know, we can fall prey to fear when our certainty has been taken away, when our identity has been taken away by losing a job, when our sense of safety has been taken away. And so whenever we fall into fear, we have a choice. Do we stay in that fear and do we allow ourselves to spiral? And as we know, that's a scary place. It could bring us into anxiety, depression, all sorts of other places. Or do we fight that fear and realize, you know, this mnemonic FEAR, false evidence appearing real. The majority of our fears do not come to pass. They actually are illusions. Yes, we're in the midst of a pandemic, but all the horrible things we can think of, most will not happen. We're going to get out on the other side. We're going to be safe. We're going to be okay. And so the choice we have is to transform that fear. So what do you transform it to? You want to transform it to faith or to love. And how do you do that? There's a lot of exercises. And our friend Marianne Williamson, for instance, talks about transforming fear to love. A powerful way to do that is through a loving kindness meditation, which is like a 4-line mantra where you repeat to yourself something like the following. May I be free of worry and fear. May I be happy. May I be free of suffering. May I be at peace. And you sit and you go into your heart space. And you sit there for, say, 5 minutes to start, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then you do this 4-line mantra, which is the loving kindness meditation or a form of it. And you let that and that energy fill your heart. That's one of the ways in which you can work with fear and transform it.
Beautiful. And even something that I've been working on at moments where I'll feel a bit overwhelmed or unclear of the next decision, learning how to speak the words where you can hear it, like I am free, I am loved, I am purpose. Just speak it, you know, in such a positive way that you're creating that voice into the universe. You're hearing it back, and it can become a deep reality for you, because the fear, you know, is very alive in many people, and I think personally. The fear that I have is like, am I doing enough? Can I do more? You know, am I choosing the right way to go? Am I listening to the right voices? Mm-hmm. And I am, you know, just stating, I am divinely guided. I follow my true path. I am a giver of love. I am receiving love. I mean, things like mantras like that, just to speak it into the universe and hear it back to keep you on the path is so important.
What about we're surrounded with news, we're surrounded by numbers. And I personally have struggled with this. You know, I look, well, our numbers are better. Well, we only have so many deaths. And it's like, I'm negating a whole facet of this disease by just looking at the numbers. And then, you know, now it's coming out all the conspiracy theories, and that is unnerving for someone who, like, in my thought of myself, very even-keeled, open-minded. I do believe in authority. You know, I listen to what the government is saying and I do what I'm supposed to do. But I do feel challenged on that end. I really do.
The biggest issue today that I think is worthy of action and coming together is censorship. When we lose our voices, when people that have something that they believe is really true and they've researched it and studied it and they want to help humanity, and then suddenly they're being shut down by many of the ways that people get their news, the ways that people, search for some truth. This is the biggest issue that I see in our whole world is the censorship. Voices are being dimmed, and we just have to not allow. We have to fight to be able to have our voices. We're human beings, and we're Americans here. This is our right, and we just have to gather together and be able to ask the questions and truly demand to be heard. And that to me is the most frightening thing of all this right now, is losing that voice and not being able to hear truth on both sides. It
is frightening.
People can choose, right? You can choose to be.
Exactly. This is it. We're shutting down. We are shutting down, and everything's closed. And it's like, never have I ever. I would never have imagined that, and we're powerless in that. And that's another thing, Anna, the powerlessness that I think we feel is really damaging to our psyche, to the way we operate. Are you seeing that aspect of people's issues with this whole thing, the total powerlessness of it all?
Absolutely. And, harnessing our personal power, that's something that we're always working on, and we're always figuring out ways to do that more constructively and to really enable our true light to shine. It's something that we've been doing, but now, just like you're saying, Kathy, that the power has been taken away because so many facets of the way in which we express ourselves, like Marla's saying, there is censorship, and also like you're saying, that the structures that we have in place to do what we do and to express our power are really, breaking down. And so we have to find new ways to harness our personal power. And you have to really, this goes back to what we talked about before of looking within. So what are some ways of harnessing our personal power? That is gratitude, looking every day towards the things we're grateful for and counting our blessings. It's having a positive attitude, being able to see the silver lining in everything, no matter what. It's what Marla has talked about, being service-oriented and other-oriented, asking, what can I do? How can I help another? Who needs my help right now? It's focusing on forgiveness rather than being, focused on who hurt me and how am I a victim. It's who can I forgive and what can I do in order to free myself and harness my power more. So those are all ways in which we can harness our power that often we don't even think about. We think we harness our power by being louder or richer or more this or more that, but no, it's actually by being more at peace with ourselves and the world and being more aligned with our souls.
So the overall focus is more to look within for your power as opposed to where your power, you're placing it externally.
I am watching so many people just create from such a new place. I just am so touched by the hearts of, people that have hardly any money, or they have a small company and, a small business, and now they found a way to make masks and be creative and share back, and everyone coming in to partner with food restaurants to get the food donated to the frontline workers. And I'm watching friends that were, very active in other ways, or even, one of my girlfriends was on the Housewives of New York, and she and her daughter have just done so much to create this Nurses Who Notch, and just getting the food, getting the donations in, and getting the food delivered to different hospitals in need, just to support the the nurses and medical staff, and so new things are happening within people's minds. People are getting more creative, and that's why I stop myself every morning and say, okay, God, how can you use me in the greatest way to share today? Give me ideas. Just fill me with the ideas that I can, where I can do the best work. My job may not be to go out and feed people on the front lines. It may be sharing a message right here today with you, or work on other issues that we've touched on.
Well, that's exactly right. And I think, most of us aren't the frontline workers, and most of us aren't who you're seeing on TV, but we all have a part to play. And I know here in Canada, they keep talking us, your part to play is staying at home, and your part to play is protecting that small minority of people that are greatly, that can be greatly impacted by this disease. And we can take light from that too. Right? Like we all have a part to play in this. And I think, I totally agree with you, Marla. The beautiful things that I see that people are doing, from the little rocks that are painted, we'll get through this. I think it's uplifting. And maybe looking towards those things are what's going to get us through. But then we're faced, Anna, we're faced with the masks that everyone's wearing. And it's external. So to me, it's like an external manifestation of a fear, like it's right in your face. And I don't know if this is the new norm. I don't know how, in New York, are you all with masks when you go outside now? I don't know.
Well, I'm here forever now. Yeah. And today I was like, I can't do it. I literally did my bandana, and I just felt like, okay, this is kind of cool. It was bright, and it wasn't like this medical looking device. But yes, I would say 9 out of 10 people are wearing them in New York, and they're giving them out in certain areas around the city now. You could go, Central Park has them in downtown in different areas where people are wearing it. I am just very conscious in honor of others that may be challenged in their physicality, or, may be fearful to put it on whenever I'm in close proximity to people. But if I go to the park, there's no one around, and I just want to hug a tree, I'm like I'm like pulling that thing down, and I'm hugging the tree and breathing a breath, because we need to be able to breathe. It's so important, to find that space away from others. I'm not saying do anything that the government's not advising in that way, but take your breath outside. Allow that to regenerate within you.
How are we going to not look at each other when we're face to face, when we're on the streets? How do we get to this space where we're not afraid of people? Because to me, that's a big thing.
But I told you the story earlier. This was just caught me totally off guard this morning. I was just jogging to go to my favorite little coffee shop, because even though I can make it at home, I kind of want to keep the business flowing for people that are open. And this wonderful young man, he had on a worker's yellow vest, and I was looking, like typing Anna, and like, where are we doing? And he just stopped me in my tracks, because he just gave so much joy. He's like, hi there, how are you? It's so beautiful to see you. And I went, oh, thank you. And you too. And then, of course, every time I pass someone on the street, I'm smiling so big, but they can't see.
The mask is on, yeah.
They can't see. So you almost have to just shout it. You just want to be able to say, you're loved, you're seen, we're in this together. So we have to find a way not to just run, because it's like, oh, there's a person, we have to get over here. I'll walk in the middle of the street. That's safer. So that is a contrasting view on healing, truly. So I just say, today, after all these months of being like this, just take a moment. And if you see someone across the street, wishing you a great day. I mean, just something, just to let them know that they see you, and have that human contact that heals us.
This whole piece, I think of everything, this human contact piece, to me, is the biggest thing that we're going to have to overcome, because we are in fear of going outside of our four walls. Mm-hmm. So Anna, are you coaching people into how to approach others? Are you, how get back? And I don't think we're hugging for a while. So,
so I treat, first of all, a number of frontline workers and first responders. And so they have been the ones kind of holding up our society. They've been the ones fighting this battle and really at the forefront of this struggle. And so for them, I haven't been coaching them. They've been informing me of what's really going on in our world. I have this paramedic who was like, okay, well, finally, we're getting less calls, meaning that the cases are starting to go down. And then right after that, the data came out that the cases were starting to go down. So I feel like they were much more coaching me as to what's happening than vice versa. And as to right now, I mean, I really feel like until things shift and until it's much safer, most people are still trying to work remotely, to be remote. And, especially because we were hit harder than any other place in the world. We were the epicenter in New York City and in the world for this pandemic. So people are continuing to communicate as we are right now, more remotely through telecommunications, et cetera. We hope that doesn't down the road mean there's going to be less human contact. And we pray that there will be a time when it's going to be safe again to hug each other, to walk down the streets close to each other without masks. But for now, we have to take those precautions and just do the best we can and follow the rules, essentially, to play our part by staying safe.
What do you think of this term? This is one that I grapple with, the new normal. What do you think of that term? Because that has to have impact on someone's psyche.
I don't think anything's normal.
Yeah. Ever?
Not in my world. Yeah. No, I think it's more transformative. Everyone said the new normal. It's like it's transformation. It's like we are transformed. We have an ability now to love more, give more, share more, think out of the box, think in a new way, expand the way we see the world, expand, the ways in which we connect. So I don't want to feel limited by what a new normal is. I want every day to be a new opportunity, because there's nothing, what's normal to one person is not normal to another. Mm-hmm. And there's just actually nothing normal with this situation. So it's how are we using this to transform into being a better version of ourselves?
Yeah, the verbiage is very important. So instead of the new normal, we can talk about how we've transformed during this time, because the new normal is scary for some people. They like the way it was before.
Yeah, I felt like we needed a shift. I would not have written it this way, but we, those of us that really are actively involved with growing spiritually and in, like Anne and I are, whatever your background is, we knew that there was something had to happen in order to wake a lot of this up from this, the way we've been polluting our earth and our environment and our minds, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's been a profound, it's like a natural cleansing in some ways, and there are positives that I hope we bring through all of this. There really are. Now, you two are working on a 5-step, are you not, of working with people and trying to help them along their path? And I'd love for you guys to elaborate on that for me.
Yes. And this is, I mentioned it briefly before, but Marla and I have talked about it in our podcast that we've done together on Instagram Live and Facebook Live, and
which are wonderful, by the way. Awesome.
Thank you. We're learning. We're getting it down, right? We're getting.
You never stop learning, Marla. You'll never stop learning. I tell you.
Growth, healing, and transformation. So this is one of the things that our creative effort that has come out of this. And the 5 steps are, number 1 is gratitude. So this is every day counting your blessings and going through as many times in a day as you can remember, at least once or twice. What are you grateful for? What are the beautiful things in your life? No matter what is going wrong, there's always something that is beautiful. You have to see that. You have to find the silver lining. Number 2, it's transforming fear to love or transforming fear to faith. And this, you can use the loving kindness meditation that we mentioned prior, which is, may I be free of worry and fear. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. And may I be at peace. The third is to be other-oriented or service-oriented. And that's asking the question, what can I do to help another right now? Who can I help right now? And, if you're a spiritual person, you ask the universe, you ask the source, you ask God, what is it that you want from me right now? How can I help? Use me in the way that you need to use me. The fourth thing is to cultivate compassion, greater compassion for oneself and others, especially during this time, to be more patient with others, not to put too much pressure on yourself, things of that nature. And the fifth thing is forgiveness. And forgiveness is actually a complicated multi-step process. Sometimes you could just forgive someone, but sometimes it's a very intentional process, especially if someone has done something in the past to really, really harm you or hurt you, or to violate your boundaries or violate your sense of safety or security. And we can certainly go into the details of that, but that's the 5-step process. Gratitude, transforming fear to love, being service-focused, cultivating compassion, and having greater forgiveness.
Let's delve into forgiveness because I think this ties in. It's an overarching idea about how I think we need to start approaching people now that we're out and about and able to interact. Forgiveness, it may seem like a funny thing, but to me, and this is my own thought, and you two are definitely more the experts on it, but I think we need to forgive people. Like I said, are we looking at people now as a carrier of a disease that can give us harm? And I think we need to be forgiving of those people. Not that they've done us anything directly, but forgive the notion that they are harming us or that they could potentially harm us. And I think that forgiveness can be playing into this healing as we're moving forward from the pandemic.
Oops, did I lose you?
No, I'm here. We're all here.
Oh, good. So forgiveness is something that I've talked about a lot and I share with people because when we see so much judgment in the world, which I think is a big reason we're faced with so many challenges right now, is all of us thinking that we know everything, that we can imagine what another person's journey has been that's taken them to this moment in time now where they are. I can't impose my learning on another person who maybe didn't learn that lesson or maybe had situations in their past that were so painful that's causing them to be more reactive. I'm sorry about the reactivity out the window. I'm in the center of New York and there's ambulances coming
This
up.
is the new normal.
There it is. And most of all, it's much quieter than it usually is.
Yeah,
here.
I bet.
But at times, I live pretty near a hospital. So it's just, for me, I always think the moment that I start to feel like, oh my gosh, they've harmed me. What have they done? It's just like, wait, get into their shoes and say, what has brought them to this moment in time that's creating this place of fear that they live in, of anger that they live in. And if I could have empathy for their pain, which maybe is causing them to react in a certain way, then I've helped transform that and I can love them instead of feeling hurt by them or fearful of them. But that type of forgiveness is just forgiving, is about really accepting that whatever's around you is really how we learn and how we grow within.
And I agree. And forgiveness to me isn't for the benefit of the other person. Holding on to fear and anger and resentment is harmful for us. And when you can forgive, you are releasing those negative emotions and negative feelings. And I think that's where we need to be now. We're focusing on a race, or we're focusing on a person, or we don't want to do that. That's not healthy. That's not healthy. What are your thoughts on that?
Work within first, right, Anna?
Mm-hmm.
Totally. It's like, Kathy, what you said, it's like when we are holding a grudge or we're holding contempt towards somebody else, and when we refuse to forgive, it's like we're the ones holding on to the poison and hoping the other person will die, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not how it works. If we are drinking the poison, we're the ones who are slowly dying. That's number one. And number two, it's actually what Marla said. It comes from this study from the Course in Miracles. When you really look at life and you think about those that you need to forgive, you realize that everything was just in perfect order and nobody even needs forgiving. That like whatever happened to us, it's really to elevate our consciousness and our soul and enable us to learn and grow. And that if we're able to do that growth, then we're on our path. Mm-hmm. Now, if you've been the one who has been perpetrated against, if you feel as though you're the victim, there's still a process of taking yourself out of victimhood, right? And so that process could be very short by saying, you know what, dear God, help me to forgive, and then it could be lifted from you. Or if you don't believe in God, if you're not spiritual, if you want to do it more psychologically, it's first setting a very clear intention. I want to forgive this person. I'm done holding this anger and hurt and vengeance in my heart. And second, you have to honor your feelings. You have to really be true to yourself and say, yeah, I have been hurt. I am angry. What happened was not right. And third is to take responsibility for your role in it. And that's also what Marla was saying, that like, what did I contribute to this? What do they have to forgive me for? Because nothing happens in a vacuum. But sometimes, like when things are done to young children, for instance, the answer is, what responsibility can I take for this? You don't have responsibility. As a baby, if something was done for you, the answer is nothing. And indeed, there are people who truly have been victimized by difficult circumstances. Mm-hmm. And the next step is, before you forgive, you have to restore your well-being. meaning that you have to set the boundaries in your life to know that this, to the best of your ability, is not going to happen again. And then from that space, you open your heart. And you can do that with the loving kindness meditation that we talked about, or many other practices to open your heart. And then finally, that enables you to release that hurt and truly forgive.
It's a long process for some, I would imagine. It's a long process.
Exactly. Sometimes it's quick, but sometimes it can take years. But if you truly have that intention, you will do it.
Go ahead, Marla.
Life gives you the opportunity over and over again, doesn't it, to learn that?
Yeah, I know. It's the one piece, Anna, that you said that I relate to, that I love, is to honor your own feelings. And I think that sometimes we don't do that. Feelings are feelings, right? They're not an educated thing. They are feelings, and they're neither right nor wrong. They're your feelings. And I think honoring feelings is a big piece of the forgiveness thing. And I love that. I've always focused on, and I'm working with someone who's not well, or, how do you feel? Those are real, and those are probably cultivated through experience, but they're a piece of you, right? And it's not that you have to get rid of them, is you need to understand them. So now, are you two working together, helping people with your 5-step program? Is this a new project for you both?
It's a new project. I mean, it's a way that we each love to share, where our hearts are so connected and our purpose feels very connected. So we really hope to be able to expand more and do more. Right, Anna?
Absolutely right. I mean, Marla and I, we've been friends for many years. We've gone to China together to be in this amazing Sanya Forum, the first women's forum in China, to be able to bring the voice of women to the forefront. So we felt so fortunate and honored to be able to share that from an American perspective. And then since then, we've started with this whole COVID thing, doing some Instagram lives and being able to share our message. And it's really kind of following the guidance also from the universe and where the world takes us. And you contacted me, Kathy, and I feel like someone else just contacted me. And it's just, I'm sure that we're going to go to other places, really just to help people going through exactly what we're all going through.
And so where can people look to follow your message? Is there a centralized place that you have yet, or just onto your websites? How can we keep up with this wonderful thing that you're doing?
Thank you. Well, currently, we've just been doing a lot. I'm saving a lot of them on my Instagram television. Some of them are up on YouTube. And I think, Anna, we each have websites that we're going to be including them too. So hopefully the best way would be to go to my website is marlamaples.com. And Anna?
.com, ANNAYUSIM.com. And that also has all of my social media on it. And and if you put either Marla or my name into social media, you'll find us.
Right. And that would be great. Follow us, and we'll we each have a place where you can sign up for newsletters, where we'll keep you in touch with things that we're learning and able to share. And but in the meantime, I definitely have a bigger following on Instagram now. I've been more focused on that. But we just would love to get people really coming directly to our site, so where we can really have our own way of sharing and control it there. It's, I think, our hope upcoming. And we'll do a lot more of this together, too.
Excellent. And I will do my best to propagate all of this for you, because I think it's such a piece of health that's not focused on as much as it needs to be. And I think anyone who goes through health, Anna, I think you've taken this journey, anyone who goes through health and is educated in health and educated in disease, somewhere along the lines, this pops up as a piece that is not as nurtured and well attended to. So, ladies, I honor what you're doing. I'm so grateful to be in your presence, and I'm so thankful that you've given me the time and to share this with my listeners and everybody. I hope you've got as much from this interview as I have. So, ladies, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
It's our honor.
Thank you
so much. It's our honor. Thank you so much. Keep it up, the great work.
Thank you. And everybody, we will talk to you next week on The Health Hub.
have been listening to The Health Hub,